G'day, viewers. All right, here's one for you. What is a man? How do you know when you are a man? Is anyone out there teaching you to be a man? The man in today's podcast is a legend that is building his own army here on the Gold Coast. An army of guys that are confused with today's Western drinking and fighting society, with women they can't control, potentially, and just a lifestyle that's gone so far away from hunting and gathering. This man has brought it back for a lot of us in simple terms. The art of man-to-man combat, which gives you respect and love of other men. His name is Gavin Topp, former Australian champion. He's been to the Olympics. He does a lot. He's building an army. He's here today. What do you got for us, Gav? So, Gav, right, last night on Facebook, I found myself in a really weird situation that you would have had 100 times before, I reckon. Is that a guy I know, when I first did your Fight Like a Pro program, right, you now have this inbuilt feeling of telling everyone sort of thing, but without being a bit of a, wanky about it sort of thing.
What do you mean? You're telling everyone that you...
Well, all of a sudden, you go from being like a normal human being to being someone who's training for a fight at the casino in a few weeks. And everyone in your normal world goes, what are you doing? So, and I found a couple of I want to say the word associates I know. People I really like and know and I've worked with before. Some of them popped up and went, yeah, I want to do that. I want to do it too. And I found myself, say, 5 weeks into doing that, hour training every day, being, right into it as well, saying you have to do it. Actually, it's really good. It changed my life. Anyway, so this one particular guy last night on Facebook, as you do, after the State of Origin, I'm sort of commenting. He was one of the guys weeks ago that said, I want to do this thing. Yeah. And I remember him being kind of aggressive about it. He's not that kind of guy, I consider him a sort of a soft, funny guy. But we got into a ding-dong battle last night. Not by me at all. I was having a laugh about this thing about, The Rock, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Yes.
There's that new film, San Andreas, that coming out.
I've heard of it,
Well, it's coming out this week.
Okay.
They actually filmed some of it at the Pines at Eleanor.
I heard that.
That's great.
Yeah.
I love that stuff, mate. That's where we shop, right?
Yeah.
Being this funny guy, but that film's got that thing in it. And that turned into like, no, who cares? And I'm like, oh, you grumpy man, go to bed,
Yeah.
And then he goes,
He's a Blues supporter?
Well, no, he's not. That's what I thought. He's a Queenslander, right? But it turned into, I'll fight you. I'm like, whatever. I'll fight you. Yeah, and then his friends, because he's quite a popular character, right? Okay. A lot of people know him. So people I didn't know are telling him to fight me. And I'm thinking it's the most ridiculous thing in the world, right? Yeah? But it got very heavy. Even at the end, he started to say, I'll fight your wife, right? Just horrible stuff. I'm telling you right now. I'm telling you right now. I know him enough to think that he's probably just taking the mickey with me to the end to see how far it would go. I even messaged him. So I stopped answering because all his friends were joining in going, Drew, you're a weak, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, wow. Right, so Anyway, so in a long story short, I nipped it in the bud with a private message to him going, I feel, and he kept at it, and named the date. And I woke up this morning with that horrible, something sort of horrible in the world, right? And, okay, Gavin Topp, boxer. What sort of idiot thuggery have you had that? No doubt. People who want to, in my point of view, as that guy is possibly like an alpha male character that couldn't handle the fact that, this is my feeling, that with the boxing training I've done recently, and he said he wanted to do it, it's sort of, he just can't help but get it off his back that he wants to challenge me, even though he hasn't done any of that himself. He was trying to belittle me in this funny way. There's a story with these MMA guys about gym wars, where where the bigger you would get in the fight world, that all these sort of weirdos would come out of the woodwork and try and challenge you.
Yeah.
And like, where's this come from? I don't. Yeah. Can you answer that?
Can I answer that? Jeez, I suppose the first thing that comes to my mind with this gentleman is he's looking for a test. He's got a need to measure himself against somebody or something, because he seems like one thing, is he drunk? That's probably the first thing you got to ask.
I do. Apparently not.
Apparently not. Okay. It's like that. I believe that story where you've got to watch the quiet guy in the corner, opposed to the bloke who's making all the noise, trying to provoke people and get people to step up and have a go. And that's what this guy's doing. Where the quiet guy, and why people say you got to watch the quiet guy in the corner, because he knows what he can do and what he can't do. He doesn't need the test. Where it's the bloke who doesn't know what he can and can't do, was normally the bloke making the bigger noise. So I don't know this gentleman. I don't. But what I do know is every man has a story, and he's not this way for no reason. Circumstances, life, can mess you up, can mess you around. So it'll be interesting. I'd like to actually have a chat with him and just say, hey, buddy, tell me why. Yeah. Just why.
Yeah, that's right.
It would be interesting to see what his response would be. Yeah. Because there's obviously, I would say that you've said something, or he's received something you've said in a way that's irked him. I wonder what that is. And I would say I would imagine it's not something that you've said, it's something someone else has said, and you've knocked the scab off an old wound. Yeah. That's made him feel or react in this negative way.
Potentially it was like that.
Yeah.
And it was kind of perfect that I saw you today, because it made me feel like all the things that you'd said and shown is that everyone is all sort of everyone who doesn't hasn't been knocked in the face a few times or done all that. I don't even want to claim it like that, but if you haven't been challenged like that, the me in the past watching a boxing match going, oh man, I could have done that, that natural clown inside every man that hasn't had that challenge. There you go. As a matter of fact,
I know how
after
he
30
feels.
seconds, and can you believe he's still punching? It's been like 4 minutes.
Yeah. It's like, this gentleman, it's like almost like you hear people say, or I imagine you have as well, I'm a lover. They'll say, I'm a lover, not a fighter. Where I reckon maybe a guy like this would say that when circumstances don't suit him.
Yes.
When it's easier to say something like that, I'm a lover, and have a bit of a chuckle, and try and throw off that. Actually, I don't know what to do. Actually, I don't know how I would react. Yeah. Actually, I'm not sure about actually who I am. Yeah. Where I would say a question with him would be, where does your identity lie? Where does your identity come from? And last thing we want to do is take the mickey out of him, but I would say he can't answer that. Yeah. To react like that. That's right. To say something about your wife.
I know.
I would imagine he's quite remorseful and kind of embarrassed at this point.
I hope so.
Yeah, you would hope so.
I hope so, yeah.
Yeah, you would hope
so. Anyway, that was it.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, has anyone tried to challenge you outside? Maybe you don't even, as a professional fighter yourself, maybe it's not even cool for you to answer. I don't know. I'm just a guy asking the silly questions. Have you heard those stories, the gym fight stories, that karate dojos where some guy like who owns the dojo right over there, the other side of town, would show up and kick the guy's butt, because
that's
to prove themselves.
A real man. I don't think would do that.
Yeah.
A real man, why would he feel the need to do that? Without, if you need a challenge, all right, you line it up.
Yeah.
To go to somebody's flipping dojo and pick him out. Come on.
Yeah.
Let's grow up.
As you know, I love listening to these podcast things, right?
Yeah.
Because I work all day on a computer. But I heard this really interesting one yesterday about a guy who did 10 years in, I think you say Shotokan karate.
Yeah.
Black belt. It was a black belt in no time.
Yeah.
10 years of training, right? But then he decided, I think it was he makes documentary films or he's a writer.
Yeah.
So he went, no, I'm going to actually fight MMA. But film a documentary and write a book about the experience.
Yeah.
He was saying that he found himself training in MMA, and it was the first time after 10 years that he'd been punched in the face in all that time in karate. And so he had this 10-year fear.
And he's trained for 10 years?
10 years, yeah. In Shotokan, it's all for the chest. But so they all just try and get I remember the first time in your gym getting punched in the face. I think it was my own glove punching me in the face when someone punched my glove. But it was a real significant moment of whoa, there it is. There it is. So to think there's guys out there that are doing all this stuff. And by the way, we're made for it, aren't we? Like, you kick your toe on the door and it hurts like hell, right? You kick your toe and it is the ultimate pain. But getting slapped in the face as a man, I don't think it's more like a stunned kind of, whoa. So this guy's been living with this fear for a lot of years.
It's like, if you've been around me any longer than 15 minutes, you'll hear me say, in every man's DNA is a warrior. But there's two sorts of warriors. There's, trained and untrained. And just because you're trained doesn't mean you're a warrior. It just means you're eligible then to put it to the test. Because the warrior's made in the heat of the battle. The warrior's made when you get hit and you think, what am I going to do? And every man, I suppose, needs to be in a position so he can answer that question. Because inside every man's chest is a question mark. And it goes like this. Do I have what it takes? Do I have what it takes? And nobody can answer that for you. Your mum, your dad, the people who love you, they can tell you you're this, you're that. But unless you're in that position, and this poor bloke, for 10 years he trained in a false economy. Come on.
Imagine that.
That's a terrible way to live.
You're a black belt.
You're a fake.
And
you're
so everyone's giving you the look out, here's the black belt.
And you don't believe it.
Like, whoa.
And you aren't sure.
What would happen if I get punched in the face right now? Mate, I have no idea.
Yeah. No, mate, I find me. I suppose I wouldn't want to live like that.
Yeah. I don't know why I'm saying this. It's a funny thing I just heard that. I'm going to say it, but I don't mean any weight in it at all, but I heard this comedian say it the other day, a guy called Bill Burr. He said, women live in the life that they can say anything they want to a man in a heated discussion because they know they'll never get hit, right?
Yeah.
But every man who mouths off, rah, 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 gets punched in the face, that you end up driving home going, I probably did take that too far. I'll think about that the next time I say it. I won't get to that extreme. So men live their lives knowing that if you take it too far, there's going to be some consequences in your face.
I don't know.
Did I get sidetracked there? Just made me think of something funny. But what's happening?
I suppose talking about these two blokes you've mentioned, and what I've seen throughout society, and particularly with Fight Like a Pro, is that there's a journey to a man's masculinity. It's a journey. You've got to go through these different stages, and you've got to. And actually, I was listening to something yesterday. I even forget who it was. I don't remember who it was, but I was listening to something, and it talked about what's the most valuable thing you can give your kids. And I've got 7 kids, and you kind of think, what is the thing that you need to give your kids?